Guys, Thursday afternoon, just about 1:15. I'm going to try to stick with my commitment to shorter videos, even the live ones. Um, Even if friends show up having a conversation, I'd like to keep it at most 45 minutes, but usually 20, 30 minutes. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Um, and of course, I start out talking about something specific, usually, or at least a theme, and then who knows where it goes. That's the art of a conversation, not trying to keep it so much where you would like it to be. That's a lecture, and I'm not here to lecture. Even when I give shorter, non live talks, it's not a lecture because I don't know enough to lecture about anything. Doesn't mean that I can't teach meditation, I can't teach breath work. Doesn't mean that I don't have knowledge of yoga or anything, fitness, whatever we talk about. But it means that I don't know enough to stand up as a final authority, nor do I want to. It's all about talking. It's all about having a conversation, opening myself up to um, continuous knowledge, continuous information. The path of yoga, that would be jnana yoga, the yoga of knowledge. And it's not the knowledge of how much you know. It's not the yoga of information. It's the yoga of that deep, deep knowledge that you find through a quiet mind, through a body that's very still. That's the type. That's the knowledge of yoga. Jnana yoga. So I've been talking about the yamas and the niyamas, and I've covered all of the yamas. I reiterate way too much. The vast majority of the time of me talking is reiterating what I've already said the day before and the day before and the day before that. So that's where I can do better. Cut things short. I've already discussed the yamas. I talked about the very first niyama. Remember niyamas, here I go reiterating, niyamas are broader, more social interaction with the community, with ourselves as well. But um, the less observances as the yamas were, and more, again, just broad, I guess is the best way that I can describe it. But I also want to talk about micro practices, little things. They really fascinate me. A minimalist program. And can you do a minimalist yoga program? Should you do a minimalist yoga program? If I have any yoga friends who ever watch any of these videos, comment in the question, what do you think? Should it always be a full hour, 90 minutes? Bikram yoga class was always 90 minutes. The um, Hatha yoga class that I am, or Hatha yoga that I am participating in the teacher certification process now, um, they, when it's in a classroom setting, 90 minutes. I don't ever want to do a classroom setting. I have, as far as attending, and they're fun, they're worthwhile. That's not the type of yoga I want to teach. I want to teach yoga. I don't want to be a yoga instructor. Um, and by teaching yoga, I mean not just asanas, not just the postures. I don't want to teach an exercise class. I can teach a burpee class if I had to, um, or a weightlifting class, and I have done weightlifting classes, body weight classes as well. Um, but I'm not interested in doing that with yoga. I want to teach yoga, which means that you can have a program that you do at home that enhances your spiritual practice, your physical and emotional well-being, and that you've earned this broad spectrum of yoga, and that it becomes an ever-deepening path, which means you and I are on the journey together. I'm not really instructing, I'm just pointing. Eventually, someone that I might work with will know more than me, and they'll point and help me out. And that way, we have a partnership. We have a true, deep friendship. Celtic spirituality, Anam Cara, soul friends, deep friends. That's what I'm more interested in. Be easier to make a living as a yoga instructor. I could probably get a job at any community center, at the local YMCA. We got several yoga centers in the area. If I was a good enough teacher, I could probably get a job there. But again, the only reason I'm doing the teacher certification um, in the Hatha Yoga Asana practice, one, I love the traditional form of yoga. Um, and two, um, to deepen my own practice with the asanas, even after decades, and to be able to offer, again, maybe a micro minimalist program for someone. Um, they can do 20 minutes first thing in the morning, and it's a complete spiritual practice. And I have something in mind. Um, Not everyone takes to meditation or even sticking with it. Even if it's of a vast interest, sometimes it can be difficult to stick with. I didn't take to it right away. I was committed to it, but it was definitely a practice. It wasn't something that I felt that I was, I read stories of people, their first meditation, they sink right into this level of silence and quietness. Did not happen to me that way. I worked with it for a while. It was only um, when I started doing the primordial sound meditation, when the emphasis is on effortlessness. We're not concentrating. We're simply thinking the mantra. That's it. Thoughts will come, thoughts will go. Thoughts will come and we'll think the mantra. It doesn't matter. We just think the mantra. There'll be times when we are thinking the mantra and it seems that thoughts are happening at the same time. It doesn't matter. We just think the mantra. We don't allow anything to knock us off center because nothing is prohibited. We just think the mantra. And then you sink, and you sink. There's other forms of mantra meditation that are very useful. This Hum So meditation, which involves mantra, a little bit of concentration, as well as observance of the breath. Very, very useful, deep practice of meditation. One of the first ones that I ever did. Still taught, still the one that I would teach before giving someone their personal primordial sound mantra. But again, not everyone just wants to put in that effort for, hey, Moga, meditation or learning meditation, or they're just not drawn to it, but they still want the benefits from it. And that's when these micro practices might come in handy. Starting the day off with an easy chant. There's a lot of benefits to chanting. Puts you in that parasympathetic nervous state. It soothes that was a little difficult for me to say. Soothes. If I think about it now, it's never going to come out exactly the way I want it to. So I need to let that word go for now. But I might work it in the conversation later. Anyway, it puts us in that parasympathetic nervous state. It really, really evens out our emotional state. It's a great way to start the day. If you don't want to meditate, then you just do some easy chanting, and it doesn't have to be long. It doesn't have to be involved. 3 times, chant Om. Let it settle. Follow that sound. Follow the sound as it takes you in. Follow the vibration. Then we do some breath work. Nice and easy. Breath of fire. 3 rounds, 20 breaths. From there, we move into alternative nostril breathing. We can do 3 rounds or we can do 5 minutes. Doesn't matter. I prefer doing about anywhere from 3 to 10 rounds, which takes me close to 5 minutes. The way I'm learning it now is different than the way I coach. The way I coach is 4 in, 4 out, 4 in, 4 out, and you do that for 10 rounds. Great thing to do in the afternoon because it's, as my instructor said, water breathing, even. Doesn't bring you too far up, doesn't put you into that sympathetic nervous state too much, but it does help wake you up, or it can even you out and slightly put you into that parasympathetic state. The way we're doing it in Hatha Yoga is breathing in for a count of 4, holding for a count of 4 or 8, depending. Exhaling the opposite nostril for a count of 8. And that puts you in a very deep, deep parasympathetic state, which almost you're at that point of deep concentration that you get in meditation. So you're getting those benefits of meditation from the chanting and from that breath work. Then you would do Savasana, the corpse pose, easy relaxation, watching the breath. The belly rises, belly falls. Again, you're entering in that deep state, parasympathetic state. Deep state of meditation. Just this is how you enter into Yoga Nidra, the yogic sleep. It's the exact same thing, except for a longer period of time. You're going to do this just for a couple minutes. Then you would do sun salutation, however many rounds you think you have time, and a couple key poses. And then back to Savasana and end it with chanting again. Complete block, fitness, meditation, deep spirituality, true yoga practice. And you could put this into a 15, preferably 20-minute block. So that's what I mean by micro practice. Do you need a 90-minute class? Not everyone has time for a 90-minute. But man, that 15, 20 minutes would have a profound effect on your physical health. You would lower your blood pressure drastically. You would reduce all kinds of nervous tension all throughout the body. You would reduce inflammation. You would be calmer, happier, content. As well, we would introduce, again, the yamas and the niyamas, that ethical practice of yoga, just to help guide you through life. That's the important thing. That's what yoga should do. Yoga has been reduced, and I don't mean reduced in a bad way. It has been reduced to a fitness practice. It's stretching. You go to a yoga class and you stretch with some key spiritual phrases thrown in. Mindfulness, watch the breath, 5 minutes of Savasana, whatever. But it's still largely a fitness class. And there's nothing the matter with a fitness class. But it's not true yoga. Do you need a yoga instructor to practice true yoga? Not necessarily. I think you can learn it from a conversation like this, going back and forth. I think you can learn much of it from a book, from a video, but it has to be from a source that has that deep appreciation and knowledge of true yoga. And that's where some curiosity goes in. Are you curious about the subject? Curious enough to find out on your own? But how about if you did that? Mocha is having a Bananarama marathon, a banana baking fest, a banana cooking festival, a banana celebratory occasion. So If anyone wants banana-based cookies, bread, whatever, hook up Mocha. You can ask the question here, put your address, where she should send it to. Um, I'm sure she's going to appreciate that. And banana baking, bake-a-thon, bake-off. She's using a lot of bananas for stuff, to bake stuff. So I've gotten all my banana stuff out now. No more banana discussion. Might be the perfect food though. So again, if I have some yogi friends out there, or even yogi enemies out there, what do you guys think of micro practices? Does every class have to be 90 minutes or an hour? For Bikram yoga, it did. It had a script. You had to do it this way. Mocha says a bake off with only one participant, then you're going to win the medal. Good for you. And several other, yoga classes are by script. You do it this way. You don't deviate. In Bikram, you never deviated. I mean, if you ascend, I've never been a Bikram instructor. I know Bikram instructors. It's a very intense process of becoming an instructor. You got to know why you're doing it this way. But I would never want to do something completely I don't want to teach someone or instruct someone completely by a script. Or participate in a class again, except for maybe like an occasional style. My own practice, excuse me, it's deeply meaningful for me because I do it on my own, and I do it these early hours, and then I do it in the day, and it's a very sacred, holy practice for me. That's what I want to teach. The reason why I'm doing the Hatha teaching certification is so I can deviate. You take the knowledge you gather, and you put together a program for someone, for the time that they have, for the things that they would like to accomplish. Mocha says that you're a natural teacher, though. I appreciate that. Of course, I'll say I don't necessarily agree. Of course, maybe it does come a little more natural because I come from a family of teachers. My father was a teacher. My mother was a teacher. My father would say he was a teacher, and he liked it. He liked being a teacher. But my mother was a teacher's teacher. She loved being a teacher. She loved her kids. She had a passion for what she did. That was her life. She probably identified as a teacher more so than a mother. Mocha says, too bad because she's right. She likes to think so. I think the bananas have gone to her head. She's taken that banana authority that has been bestowed upon her in the kitchen, and now she is running wild with power. So again, anyone watching this in any future date, just leave a comment. What do you guys think? Micro practices, not just for yoga, not just for meditation, not just for other stuff. It's great for breath work. 3 times a day, therapeutically as needed, was how I was taught to be a breath coach. But I used micro practices for ultra running at times, 2 or 3 times a day running if I didn't have time for that one big long run. When I dialed in my first 100, I used a Jeff Galloway ultra plan, which I was sold would never work because Jeff Galloway is a marathon coach, knew nothing about ultra running, and yet he put together a plan that I absolutely loved. And you only ran during the week twice. Okay, side note, I cheated and I ran more than twice in a week. On the weekends, every other weekend, or I'm sorry, every third weekend, you would do double runs on Saturdays and Sundays. You would still run on Saturdays and Sundays, but on those key weekends, you would do, and I think he started off with a 6 mile run in the morning and then a 3 mile run in the evening on Saturday, and then you would do something similar on Sunday. I have to see if I can find it. Milka wants me to send her the Galloway method thing again. That is not the official title, the Galloway method thing. I think it was the Galloway. I have the book. I'll give you the book. It worked wonders because by the time you hit this peak time, training for 100. Now he has marathon plan, he has a 50K plan, he has 50 miles, 100K, and 100 miles. By the time I hit that 100 mile, the last heavy training week, I ran on Tuesday, I ran on Thursday. Saturday, I think I did like 26 miles in the morning, and I did 27 miles in the evening. Sunday, I think I did 24 miles, and then 29 miles in the evening. So I had over 100 miles in a weekend. I had over 100 miles total for my training week. It's a lot of volume, but I had so much rest time in between. And then I hit that, and I knew I was ready for the 100 because I had already covered that distance in a 48-hour period. I'd covered half of it, over half of it, in a 24-hour period, and then hitting those big numbers the very next day. Micro practices, doing the things that work without investing all of the time traditionally that you called for. Traditionally, a 100-mile program, you're hitting some pretty big numbers almost every weekend. I did for the first several years. But when I dialed it in with that Galloway plan, and I followed similar plans, the template of that, making it my own for other races throughout. And it was perfect. It also, because I had reduced overall total volume, allowed me to put some more muscle back on that I had lost coming into ultra running, putting in those heavy miles. So I put some muscle on, I got stronger, I felt healthier. Overall, I was more fit. When I added walking into that mix, walking the vast majority of my miles, still running, but power walking, even more muscle, even more rest, even more fitness. These little things that you learn. Same approach that I want to take with yoga. Finding ways that work for you, not giving this script and saying, this is what you're going to do. You're going to do this pose, this posture. Finish this way. It should be yours. Yoga should be yours. An instructor is helpful to learn the poses, to correct mistakes, and then it should become some type of yogic spiritual friendship of you and I having a conversation about yoga. My insights, your insights, how they feed into each other, what it offers each of us, especially someone new coming into yoga. Because then we go back to Suzuki Roshi's Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind. I can relearn the things that I thought I learned decades ago, forgotten, or see it through a new lens, through a new light, because of what you bring to me. This is my friend Robert Saltzman. He wrote the 10,000 Things. Says awakening never ends. It's the same thing. Yoga. Yoga is the path of awakening. So it should never end. It should always be yours. Not something you have to go to a studio for. You do that to get a workout. But to practice yoga, it's 24/7 commitment. It means you're practicing the yamas and the niyamas, that you were doing pranayama, the breath work. You were doing meditation, and you're doing all of this not to gain anything, but to reduce things. To reduce your own self-importance, to reduce your own addiction to ego, I'm not saying ego in a bad sense whatsoever. I'm not saying egotism. But it's the ego, our sense of who we think we are, but not who we are, and the attachments to being right that causes our suffering, causes our emotional suffering. I'm not talking about the suffering associated with grief or sorrow. Totally different. Totally different. I'm talking about the suffering that occurs or that is incurred by our attachment to being right, our attachment to beliefs, our attachment to political positions, to religious positions, whatever. Not having room for someone else's view to be right, someone else's views. That's the practice of yoga 24/7. Excuse me. Breath work, meditation, ethical points. It's such a wonderful process when the world opens up as yoga too. When your burpee practice becomes karma yoga or bhakti yoga, the yoga of devotion. When science opens up and you see science as just another field of mystery, not an answer, not a definite answer, but the possibility of how things are on one surface level, and yet there's infinite layers beneath that. Everything becomes that yogic vision. And it doesn't have to have a name. I'm using yoga for convenience because I like it, because I like the whole practice of it. But at that depth, there's no layer, there's no label of what it is. It simply is. It's life. Yoga's life. Life is yoga. Remember, yoga itself, the word means to yoke, to bring together, to join. And what are you yoking? That didn't sound right. It sounded a little dirty, actually. What are you yoking is the divine, the material and the immaterial, and seeing that it's exactly the same thing. You're living the Heart Sutra. Emptiness is form, form is emptiness. All right, guys, so I'm about to hit the half-hour mark, and as I said, keeping things relatively short is the goal. So I'm going to say goodbye. And if anyone wants to follow me on Instagram, look up my name. I don't know how else to do it. But you can look me up, and I talk about the same exact thing pretty much. Every conversation is different, but I do another talk. And yes, I said I do another talk. All right, so let's end it there. And I will see you guys tomorrow morning for burpees. And then we'll do another conversation later in the day. Take care.